Welcome to Let Go Let EFT, where we are learning and leaning in with you, with your hosts Michelle Puster and Dr. Laura Spiller. EFT is a beautiful model helping people connect with themselves and the people that matter the most, developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning, Laura?
Good. Looking forward to talking about critical withdrawers.
Yes. So I think critical withdrawals are a little bit less common, and we don't always, we don't come across them quite as often, but when we do, they can really kind of throw us for a loop. And because they don't fit into that nice, neat little tidy box of a withdrawer who just withdraws quietly and shuts down and doesn't talk. So, yeah, I guess what comes to mind for you when you think about a critical withdrawer?
Well, the first thing that's coming to mind is this, that sometimes it's hard to know when you see a critical withdrawer, who the more withdrawing partner is, that it can, we can see this blame and defend or find the bad guy type cycle, where both are blaming and being critical, and because it doesn't fit that usual pattern of pursue withdrawal, where one person really is trying hard to overtly on the outside shut things down, and go away to find their peace or to protect the relationship. It can be hard to know, to discern or figure out who's the more withdrawing partner in those models. So it's tricky. And there are lots of ways that withdrawing partners present.
Yes. So it sounds like the first thing is just trying to figure out, do I have am I actually being with a critical withdrawer, or what's going on here? So I guess, how do we differentiate between a critical withdrawer and a pursuer? How do we tell the difference if both people are being critical, both people are, getting defensive, both people are doing these kind of moves, and there's lots of words? How do we tell the difference between a pursuer and a critical withdrawer? What do you look for?
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. We tend to look at the action tendency, sort of what did they do when they're triggered and the relationship is threatened. But when those action tendencies are sort of looking the same, we have to look at other pieces, of their experience. So, withdrawers tend to, their function, right? The function of the behavior seems to be to get space, even to turn down the emotion. And then the other piece is, what is their attachment fear? And often that attachment fear can distinguish, we know that the traditional, for the pursuer, the fear is, do I matter to you? Am I important? Am I on your radar? And for the withdrawer, that attachment fear, right, is, am I going to disappoint you? Right. If I really show up here, am I going to be found wanting? Other thoughts that you have kind of on what to distinguish with those either the attachment fears or the intent?
Yeah. I guess what always helps me is when I have a picture in my mind. And so in my mind, I'm kind of picturing the pursuer is coming towards the withdrawer and knocking at the door and saying, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And that might come out in harsh criticism. And I want you to see me. I want you to understand me. I want to be close to you. You're too far away. And the critical withdrawer is sort of on the other side of the door, feeling all this harshness and being constantly picked apart for what they do. It kind of speaks to that fear that you just mentioned. Like, am I ever going to be enough? It's never enough for you. So they're constantly hearing, it's never enough. I'm never getting it right with you. And then they sometimes, or maybe throughout that, they bite back and say, you're not perfect either. This is what you do, this, and this. And so the stance is different, right? Because they're not moving towards to get closeness or to be seen or understood. They are sort of biting back to say, you're not perfect either, kind of hiding that pain of not being enough or I'm failing here in this relationship. And also biting back to get space. I've even had withdrawers say, like, when I lay down the hammer in this way and I say, you're a this, it's conversation ending. I mean, so in the extremes, they can, a really vicious criticism shuts everything down, even a very pursuing partner, and then they go away. Their pursuing partner goes away, and then they have space again. So when I think about the withdrawer, I think about, hiding that, those insecurities that they're struggling with, and also trying to have space. That is their way of having space, and with all of the emotions that they have up and running in this cycle. How does that fit
that
for
fits
you,
great.
Laura?
That image I think is so great, that each of them on the side of a door, one trying to get through, and the other kind of trying to hold the other partner back.
Right. Right. Yeah. And the holding the partner back is sometimes looks like a defensive response, or it sometimes looks like biting back with a critical comment. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what might we, like, if you're thinking about a critical withdrawal that you have coming into your, coming in next, in the next 15 minutes, you're going to have this critical withdrawal coming in. What helps you prepare for a session with a critical withdrawal?
Well, I think really remembering why it matters, to know who's the more withdrawing and who's the more pursuing, which is that we really want to communicate that we understand their attachment dilemma.
Right.
I mean, our goal is to get close to them in their world and their experience, help reflect that to them, validate it, give them this beautiful attachment frame that helps normalize it, of course, right? When your partner is coming at you and you're feeling like, you are just so much a disappointment, there's this panic that makes you want to just push them back.
Right.
That it's so important to be able to get that attachment dilemma. So I think
so this is how
trying to get in, to really feel into that dilemma for the critical withdrawer.
Right. That's how they're seen by us. Is that what you're saying? Like, that's how they know we get them and where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can help them feel some compassion for themselves in that place. Maybe if we're lucky, we can help their partner have some compassion for them in that place.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So the more we understand their dilemma, the more we can validate them and empathetically reflect their experience correctly. One, right? So, and they'll feel like we're getting it and getting their experience. And I love that they might feel more compassion for themselves in that place, because they might just really feel like the bad guy in the situation, just really mean and not understand at least why they're so mean. And then, wow, what an amazing potential for even their partner to see, have a little bit of compassion, like start to plant that seed of compassion for maybe my partner's not just this mean person who, cuts me down in this vicious way or is always so defensive. Like, there's something happening inside where all that's coming from. That's so nice.
Yeah. What about you? Kind of how would you prepare for that critical withdrawal coming into the session?
Yeah, I think what helps me is really trying to put myself in their shoes. Like, I might put myself in that scene where I'm on the other side of this door and I'm, at least feeling like I'm constantly being attacked and cut down and told that I'm a bad partner and I don't communicate it the right way or enough or whatever they might be hearing, and just sort of like constantly hearing that. And then getting in touch with that feeling like, yeah, just stop, and wanting to lash back out. Even because obviously we're not always going to have the same moves as our clients, right? And so it helps me to be able to put myself in their shoes and imagine how awful that must feel, that it gets to a point or that I'm caught in this loop of just lashing back out, being critical back and being defensive about what my partner's saying to me. So it really helps me to just try to imagine what that would feel like and try to even feel it in my body if I can. And imagine how it would feel to even be lashing out so harshly. And yeah, that helps me when I can sort of try my best to feel, to whatever degree I can, their experience, because that helps me, feel, be able to move from empathy with them and curiosity to better understand their experience. Because we might be kind of like, oh, I don't, this is just not nice. And I don't like this. Right. And I don't want to get to a place where I don't like you. I want to try to understand that. So that really helps me when I can ground myself in their experience to whatever degree possible.
That's such beautiful attunement. That's beautiful attunement there. You said it, putting myself in their shoes, trying to get behind their eyes. Part of what we do is offer this frame, right, of what you're doing makes sense.
Right. What you're doing makes sense. Yeah. There's a good reason that you're lashing out in this way. There's some reason this is happening.
And it's so frustrating, right, that it doesn't get you what you want. That space that you want, doesn't come. We have that appreciation too for the strategy. While it makes so much sense and why it's so ingrained and it's so automatic and it's so protective, right? But it just sort of backfires, So I don't know. That was coming up for me as we were talking about it.
Right. Yeah. That's, of course, it backfires, and that's helpful for us to reflect back to them, right? As much as it's important for us to see it and let them feel seen, help them feel seen and understood, but also recognizing and verbalizing that it's backfiring for them, right? That's why they're caught in the cycle.
Yeah. What
So
you're doing, your vulnerability of kind of having this internal panic of how badly this is going with your partner and trying to get it to stop and push them back has an impact on your partner that probably isn't the one that you were, in your heart that you long for.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I feel like this is a really, critical withdrawals are tough. They're tough to kind of see, it might take us a few sessions to kind of recognize, oh, okay, this is a critical withdrawer here. It's not pursuer, or however we might have been looking at it, like, oh, okay, this is a critical withdrawer. And then hopefully this will help give us and our viewers some ways to sort of, hash that out and then begin to sit with them in a way that feels good. And so thank you all is there anything else, Laura, that you want to touch on before we go?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.